Hello, I'm Jonathan Moyes, Head of Investment Research at Wealth Club, and today I'm with Mark Bennett of Hatch Ventures to talk about the Hatch SEIS Fund. Hello Mark, welcome to the studio. Thanks for coming in. I wonder if you could start by giving us some background to Hatch Ventures and the SEIS Fund.
Hatch was founded in 2013. We launched our first tax-efficient portfolio investments in 2018. And we have a range of funds that serve our portfolio companies from MVP to pre-seed to seed through to Series A. We focus on businesses that are all around digital transformation. So looking to do cool things with technology to change the way the world works. As for me, I've got a mix of small startup experience and very large corporate experience. I started in the media industry and the music industry and got involved in the digital transformation of music, and then went on to work in major retailers like Tesco's and Sainsbury's, technology businesses like Microsoft, and the last 8 years or so I've been working at Google. So I love technology. I love how technology changes in the industry, but I have a passion for startups as well. And so I've been a partner for Hatch since 2018, working alongside the other three partners to help our portfolio company succeed. So we have a nice mix of experience between the four of us, who are the four partners, and then the wider team that we've now assembled that support us. We have a really excellent group of people that serve our investment companies.
So we're here today to talk about the SEIS Fund.
Yeah.
What does that aim to do for investors?
Our SEIS funds are looking to generate a 10 times return for investors over a time period of like 5 to 10 years. Each of our funds we look to have between 10 to 15 investments in. So we look long and hard to find the right businesses that we think are the ones to back, and that can be very competitive to win that SEIS investment. So a lot of our focus is around like finding them and then closing them. And that's why our SEIS funds are designed to deliver for our investors.
And so what do you look for in an investee company? What types of companies are you backing?
Well, good question. I mean, clearly we're looking for something special. And that tends to be a mix of really great people and a really great vision how to solve a problem using technology. So we spend a lot of time getting to know the individuals, test their thinking, to test the way that they can handle a pivot or a change, and then at the same time explore the vertical that they're focused on, the problem they're trying to solve, and like the way they want to go about it. And that kind of mixes between the team and the problem. The team, we look at about 150 a month of investments. We now get a lot of inbound anyhow, but we now get a lot of quite high quality recommendations. We've invested in over 60 businesses, so like that network of founders generates kind of more inflow. Over the last year, we started to be more proactive in outbound reach. So like there's companies that we see, there's ideas that we see that we now reach out and start to engage with those businesses. I think something else that helps us kind of find companies and get inbound is we're quite unique that a number of other SEIS funds, they almost charge a fee back to the portfolio company, sometimes like 10%. So if they've done an SEIS investment of 150 grand, another fund will charge 10% back to the portfolio company. Hatch, we don't do that. All the money goes to the founder, to the business. That's helped us as well in terms of winning the competitive investments for the SEIS investments, for the ones that we really want to get in early on. So there's a mix of all those things that helps us select the businesses. And a seed round, an SES seed round can be anything from a couple hundred grand to 2 million. And obviously we're looking to allocate as much of that SEIS as possible for our investors.
So how early do you invest? Are these revenue generating businesses? Are they just ideas?
Sometimes they can just be an MVP, minimum viable product. Yeah. It's just an idea. And it's like, the founders are just passionate about what they're trying to achieve, and that can happen more often than not, that we're in there at an early stage. We like that, but it can be revenue, and we have made a lot of investments in our fund for businesses that have already started to get to a reasonable level of revenue. But it is an early stage, yeah, by its definition.
So do you have any examples of recent investments you've made from the SEIS fund?
I mean, really recent one, I'm not going to tell you its name actually, but a really recent one is like on fire. Like I was just looking at the numbers the other day that we made an investment about 7 or 8 months ago, but they're already ARR of 2.6 million. Their month-on-month growth is just over 40%. They work with individuals that are living abroad and working. Their product is now being used by over 25,000 end customers and by about 100 enterprises. So that business is a real success story. Like if I go back a bit further in our kind of history of the SEIS fund, like we've only been going on the SEIS fund for 18 months, but some of the early ones I think have really justified our investments. We only value a company based on third-party investment, i.e. someone else has to come in, so it's a priced round. I could pick BetMate. I think the valuation since we invested has gone up by 5.8. Dentally, the valuation has gone up 3.5 times, again based on third-party investment. Diode, 2.2, 2.3, again based on third-party investment. So we're really proud of, like, even though we've only been doing SEIS for 18 months, that some of those early investments are now showing healthy progress to our goal of 10 times within 5 to 10 years. And we work closely with those businesses as entrepreneur founders to give them advice, course correct, or give a perspective, talk through challenges they've got. So like we're really pleased with how some of those businesses that we invested in 12 to 18 months ago have already started to demonstrate to our investors a really healthy increase in valuation.
So how do you find these investments? So, for example, Native Teams that you mentioned, how does that deal come about?
It's like I said, the originally it's just you sift through a lot of inbound, and the team still does a lot of that. There is a lot of really trying to work through like where a business is at and it's in that kind of pitch. But now, like I said, we do a lot more outbound reach. We work with a lot of other VCs. We work with our network of founders who have another kind of networks that they have as well. And I think word of mouth is quite powerful, and I expect that will continue to increase over the next few years as people kind of understand, as founders understand the people that we are, the way that we approach helping them. We want our investors to succeed, but we really want our founders to turn into the leaders that we think they can be and to create the businesses that they want to create. So I think that word of mouth is a really powerful thing. And as a pipeline driver, I think that would be an increasing proportion of how we find the great investments going forward.
And how competitive is it, these SEIS rounds?
For good businesses, it's really competitive. We don't get every single one we want, but we work hard to get to understand the founders. We often find ourselves pitching ourselves and talking about the experience we've got. And that's why I think there's a nice mix between Scott, Fred, Simon and myself as partners and our investment team behind that, who have got a lot of experience as well in terms of helping that business as they go to further rounds, not necessarily led by ourselves in terms of our growth funds and our follow-on funds, but by other people within our network, other funds within our network. So there's a mix of things that we do to try and attract that thumbs up from a founder that they're going to take our money. And we want as much of that SEIS as possible. Like currently it's 150. Obviously, we're excited about the fact that from 23-24 tax year, that changes to 250 grand investment that can be put in as an SEIS. And obviously from a personal individual limit, that's gone from 100 to 200. So now we can make bigger investments under that SEIS classification. Another thing that helps us a little bit finding those good investments is our endorsement from British Business Bank, or their subsidiary BBI. We went through quite a rigorous process of selection, and we're very proud to have been selected by BBI as one of their funds that they've committed to put £10 million into Hatch and Hatch Investments, Hatch SEIS in particular. So they add on to that. So the 250 max that we could do, they will put another 60 in top. So now that means we're putting 310 in, where before the maximum we could put is 150. So it gives us a lot more impact for a founder and a portfolio business that can help us win the ones that we really want to invest in.
And I guess obviously it's very high risk, but having a 310k check rather than 150k, you can do an awful lot more there.
You can do an awful lot more, and I mean, it's a difficult climate at the moment, but we're quite delighted to see words like revenue and runway come back into, like, they're a bit more popular now. But that's kind of where we started a lot of our thinking when we invest in a business. We mentioned MVP and pre-seed, but we do like a business that's got either revenue or path to revenue. When we like to invest with 18 months runway, so we know the business has got a good chance of getting to break even, but like a really good runway to try and demonstrate the fundamentals of the business and the traction to acquire more capital at a later raise. So runway and revenue are really important to us. So we look at those kind of elements to it as well when we're investing.
So is the current environment affecting the way you invest at all?
We're still seeing there's a lot of businesses out there, and there's plenty of stuff you can read about difficult environments create even more founders and more ideas, and technology and the disruption around digital transformation is not going away. And like, if anything, the last few years of pandemic and recession drive even more innovation around digital transformation, and you've seen that in pandemic with, the growth of lots of different ways that consumers live and breathe, from digital payments through to video chat. We still have those fundamentals. We look for revenue and runway. If we're investing, how much do you need to get to that point in time? So, in answer to the question, not a great deal, but it is a tougher climate for those follow-on investments as well. So, that makes it even more important to lean into our fundamentals when we invest in a business.
So, Mark, to what extent do you get involved with the companies that you're backing at SEIS?
Quite a large extent, and there's a discipline for us because we are ex-founders. We connect with the individuals. We really want to help their businesses, so we work closely with every business in the portfolio. I personally work closely with 7 of the businesses, either as board observer or board seat. But every single business we engage with on a monthly basis from one of the team. So, there's a very close connection between the team. We have a strong mix, as I talked about, between the partners, but also our wider team are very experienced in terms of working with different businesses and early stage businesses. So there may be other elements of advice we're giving from a technical perspective to an HR perspective that other members of the team can help. And as we add to the team, we'll add more experience that can help our founders deliver the business plan that they want. So yeah, we work really closely with our portfolio businesses.
I guess the ultimate goal is an exit. I guess it's probably too early to talk about exits. Anything coming up that?
Anything coming up? There's a few actually in conversations, and so hopefully there'll be more information that we can share in a few weeks. Like in the early stage of Hatch Angels, we had a couple of exits. One at a huge multiple of 200 plus, one at 2 and a bit plus. So there's a couple of exits there. We've had a few of our businesses have recently had offers. Some of them reasonable, tens of millions of dollars, but we really think those businesses are a really good stage of growth, and it's not the right time to make an exit. But there's a few other conversations going on. So yeah, watch this space. Maybe in the next few months, I'll be able to date you with a few more bits of news.
And of course, it's risky investing at such an early stage. For the average person looking to invest in this fund, how risky would you say it is? So let's say for every 10 companies you back, how many are going to fail?
There's lots of data out there about early stage and even SEIS investments in terms of the failure rate. I'm very confident we're going to be doing much better than that failure rate for all the reasons that that I've just talked about in terms of our experience and the investment that we put into helping our founders succeed. But SEIS is more risky than EIS by its nature, hence the great level of tax efficiency for an investor. One of the reasons we kind of try and reduce that risk portfolio is our funds invest in 10 to 15 businesses. We're confident on that 10-time return in that 5 to 10 year period. So yes, early stage has more risk, but we do a lot of work in terms of our due diligence. And we do a lot of work in terms of the investment we put into those businesses, and the mechanics of how the fund is actually constructed helps reduce that risk for an investor as well.
So to sum up then, Mark, for those that want to invest in an SEIS fund this year, why should they invest in the Hatch Ventures SEIS fund?
Entrepreneur-led, with a great track record and experience. We're proactive, like we really work with our businesses, and we have a really strong network, not just in terms of our corporate experience, but in terms of that wider investment network that can help our businesses when they need that next step up of funds. Like, we obviously want to be there, but like there are lots of other investors out there that we can work with as well. I think the final thing I'd say is the validation, the credibility from having the investment from BBI, that subsidiary of British Business Bank. That 10 million commitment we're really proud of, and that demonstrates, I think, a lot of the capability we have, and also like the way that we go about what we're doing. So like a lot of experience within the team, both at the partner level and in the wider team, and I think you can see that in terms of the quality of the portfolio that we've invested in over the last 3 or 4 or 5 years.
Mark Bennett of Hatch Ventures, thank you very much.
Thank you.
If you are watching on YouTube, please press like and subscribe to the channel for more.